I guess probably a good time to go into quality of the food too, because it's not just down to quantity. If that was the case, then just downing a sleeve of Oreos would be a really effective way to get to a really high calorie count every day, and you're done. And we wouldn't be getting very fast. So, because quality does matter, and I think that the way that it's usually talked about, like from the top down, when you start caring about quality, you start talking about macros, right, Pete? And that's like kind of like the first step for most folks.
Yeah, for most folks, definitely. And it's pretty easy to kind of fall within the bounds of acceptable macro um, buckets, I guess, with like 50 to 60% carbohydrate, 10 to 20% protein, 20 to 30% fat. And everybody's different. My favorite line, everybody's different. And finding what works for you is just as important as what is correct. And but one of the really easy ways to think about it is the higher quality um, food you're getting, the more of all of the stuff it has. So it has better macronutrient profiles, it has better micronutrient profiles. It's better for your body to kind of run off of, and putting higher quality fuel in your body, especially when you're really training. It's cheating. It's amazing. And so kind of making sure you're running the right buckets of macros, and then kind of remembering that as your workload progresses, you add more of everything, but the majority more carbohydrates, and the carbohydrates kind of skyrocket up along with everything else. But the more work you're doing, also the higher quality stuff you require, because you're doing more detrimental things to your body, and you're running through a lot of energy. And so it seems like a great time to pack away a sleeve of Oreos. And I've been known to do that too. I mean, we all have, but it really underlines how important the quality is. The more you train, the more it's going to be noticeable, and the more you're going to feel it. And it helps your mental game and your sleeping, all the things, right, that we talk about. So it's the balances is kind of different per person and based on body type and what you're going for and stuff like that. But finding the happy starting point, and then starting to dial it in small, really small changes. But the best part is, if you're eating really healthy food, it's really almost impossible to mess up your macros. It's
Yeah,
just, you just can't do it.
it's very
So
true.
yeah,
If anybody starts counting calories, you'll notice that. Like, if you eat a really, a healthy balanced meal, which we'll get into like some examples of that a little bit later. But if you eat something like that, it really does change and it makes it just a whole lot easier. And I think that a lot of this too, like the main thing, I feel like a lot of people are asking the question, what should my macro balance be with carbs, with fat and protein? And in most cases, everyone wants to shift the carbs down low, because there's this assumption that carbs are bad and carbs are going to make you gain weight. And if I cut carbs, I'll lose weight. Or I should say lose fat, probably is what people are really going for. But when we're talking about endurance athletics in particular, it changes like substantially. There's that study with the Kenyan runners, right, Pete, where they looked at that, their macro profile.
yeah, and they have very low body fat. They do huge amounts of work. They're very successful, and they eat like 75 to 80% of their daily intake in protein, and low
And
fat,
carbs.
low
Yeah.
protein, or sorry, in
Yeah.
carbs, man,
Yeah.
80% carbs, low fat, low protein, and they are capable of exceptional performance. They're very low body fat. They're very healthy, but they do a lot of work, capacity wise, over the course of the day. And of course, as you do more work, you fill up your capacity with carbohydrates, because that's what the majority of your fuel is from. And I think we hear it all. I hear it probably every day of my life, that I'm gonna lean out or lean away from the carbs for a little while and see if I can lose some body weight, or lose body fat, or change my performance. And like it's such an important fuel to everything we do all the time, that it's essential for almost
Mhm.
every person who cares about performance to eat a fairly large amount of carbohydrates,
It's kind
right?
of yeah, it's a funny point. Like when I get the question all the time on like Instagram, people reach out to me on there and they send me questions all the time. And the most common one is, how do I, like, what's the best way to raise my FTP? And what I've started saying to people is take in more carbs. Like they want to know like the secret workout, if there is a secret workout to like raise your FTP, and it's just eat more carbs. Like it's crazy because it not only improves performance, but it changes the way you feel too. So like the Kenyan runners in this example, and that was a study by Oniwera, Kiplama, etc. We'll have a link to this whole study here where they actually to reference that one. But they do a whole lot, like you said, Pete, their caloric burn throughout the day is very high because they have a lot of training. Then culturally speaking as well, they're much more active throughout the day than we are in this sedentary lifestyle that we tend to have in the United States, at least, where it's, sitting at a desk and just doing that. So granted, they're taking in a ton of carbs. They're burning a lot as well, not just during their workouts. But if anybody has tried to do that, Jesse, it's hard to hit like 80% carbs, right? I don't know if you've ever tried it. I have. It's so hard.
And to do that, and like if you're still trying to run a caloric deficit, like that is so much food. Like if you're eating healthy carbs, like vegetables, and I know in that study, a large part of their diet's rice, beans, cabbage. You know how much cabbage that is for the amount of, like, that's just buckets and buckets of cabbage, like more cabbage than I could eat, and it's hard to run that high. But like Pete said, they're on the elite end of the spectrum, right? I'm not. I'm just I'm a middle-aged dude, wanting to ride his bike and do well in local races. So it's about that. I think the other thing when you come to macros, right? I know Pete, you can correct me here, but your protein is your macro there is really based on your body weight to preserve muscle mass. And that's really the fulcrum for the lever of carbs and fat. And for me, what I did and still do is, like, I adjust those based on my needs, performance needs and training needs. But at the same time, like, I know me personally, like I feel less hungry later if I eat a little bit more healthy fat. So, eating some avocado, or getting, some like nuts. Like nuts are a great way, to get some healthy fats. They help me feel fuller longer. So there are some days where I'll have some more fats in there, but during my whole weight loss, I never really got into the nitty gritty of that mindset that seems to be very prevalent about, I've got to have this exact percentage and this exact many of grams of carbs or grams of fat. It's not that complicated. If you're eating a variety of foods, no matter what really kind of diet that you pick.
Mm-hmm. One of the great things you just touched on was satiety is like such a, it's all based on you. And who knows that if you ate a quarter more avocado per day, you would actually less overall for weeks or months, because it's the way it impacts your body and the way it makes you feel. And so for those people who are terrified of fat or terrified of carbohydrates, like it could, or even protein, it could be all of those. But one thing is the like signal piece for your body. And then all of a sudden you're satiated and you don't snack and you're like, I actually don't need dessert today, or, stuff like that. And it's, you'll never know by over restricting, but if you kind of try a bunch of things out and you'll figure, it's really, the body is amazing. It'll tell you what works really well, really quickly. And when you notice a shift in personality, or like the way you're personally thinking about things and feeling, and sleeping is the other really good barometer. If you try something and you're sleeping better and you're feeling a little better, keep doing that. Like your body is telling you something that this is what you should be doing. And it doesn't necessarily mean do more of that. Start with what you did, keep doing that. And if you notice you're slipping in any way, you can change. But a lot of the time your body figures out what you want to do for you if you just listen to it, which is hard to do.
If you're following a structured plan that's really like, pushing you to to where it should push you to, it's a big leg up in this regard, because you have like something that's actually like a harsh constraint, so to speak. Like, I need to have enough energy to be able to accomplish this. So as a result, it makes it, I feel like, a little bit easier to be able to suss out what works and what doesn't, and what is working right now. And one of the things with, if you try to push up to 80% carbohydrate, it's really tough to keep your fat down if you're really consuming that. And like you said, Pete, that's where eating really healthy, vegetables and everything else will come in and helping you with that. Clean grains and stuff that are not going to be things that are just laden with fat. Like, I could go eat like a delicious strawberry, like a rhubarb pie or something, and be delicious, but that thing is going to be a lot of fat within that, right? So it's really tough, and I think that that's kind of like a hard balance with that. So when you are measuring this sort of stuff, and when you're asking where you should be, what your balance should be, like Pete said, it's going to change over time for you individually. It's something where, if anything, just tracking it first is the best thing to see where you are. And then after that, see if you can make some sort of tweaks. In most cases, I feel like a lot of us have a lot of fat in our diets. It's really easy to get tons of fat in there. And then we, outside of that, on the protein side, in many cases, a lot of athletes tend to be low on protein. And so just track it and figure out where you are. And then you can shift it in directions from where you need to be, rather than trying to be like a Kenyan runner that's at 80%. Smash cutting to that might be really tough for you, because it's just a huge shift. And I think that the main priorities you should have while you're counting this are looking to fuel your training and fuel your life, like those two things. If you are counting macros and doing all this stuff and feeling accomplished about that, but then you're not taking into account all the needs that you have in your life, then you'll find yourself in a situation where it's really tough to keep going with this, or the quality of life suffers, the quality of your training suffers, everything else that falls with it too. So it's really important to kind of look for that. And in terms of signs, Pete, like, what are some signs that a person might have that shows them that they need to take in more carbohydrate?
Like the ones we mentioned, it's like sleep, the way you're feeling, your overall attitude. Motivation is another great indicator of fueling. And really, if you're not feeling amazing every time you get on the bike, adding a small amount more carbohydrates, it's not going to make you balloon up. Try it, and then take small steps. Just like everything we've talked about, you do a little bit at a time. You're not gonna instantly become an elite Kenyan runner. So if you're at a 50% carbohydrate, try adding 50 grams an hour while you're pre-ride and during the ride, and try it out. Try it for a few days or a week or 2 weeks, and then make the next step. But it's always a pursuit, and it's based on training, and every day is a little different, but making small steps in the right direction will, if you do that in a handful of different things at a time, it's sustainable, and you'll notice a huge difference. You should feel, a great example is, if you don't feel excited to get on your bike and you're going to smash your workout, try adding some carbohydrates. I mean, it's a really, that's probably one of the easy solutions that we do have in this podcast, is try fueling a little bit more and watch what happens. And depending on how you are as a person and what your goal event is and where you're coming from, it's going to pay dividends to smash workouts and feel better overall and get some momentum going and carry that through. I think we'll talk a little bit more about something like that later.
Where I feel the most difference for myself, Jesse, is in like sustained sweet spot work. What about you? When do you notice that you're low on carbohydrate and need to up it?
Yeah. For me, I tend to look at it like short-term, long-term. So I can tell I'm not getting enough. I'm not fueling my work well enough. If over the course of a few days, my legs just start to feel incredibly, it's not like DOMS, it's not muscle soreness. And it's a little different than just tired legs, but they feel so fatigued and just heavy, like concrete blocks. And like stiff almost, like they really start to feel like I need a stretch almost. that is kind of my long-term indicator. Like, oh man, like I rode a lot over the weekend and I didn't eat a lot on the bike, or really much maybe over the weekend as well. So that's like my long-term. The short-term is like, I know this is kind of weird, but like just listening to my gut, in a sense, like if you're feeling hunger pains on the bike, like you need to eat, right? If and I know there's this thought, I think, in our head sometimes, especially like if your goal is weight loss, is to be on the bike, like you want to feel hungry, right? But that's the worst time to feel hungry. It's the absolute worst, because you're hungry, and then like if it's a really hard ride or you're doing something intense, like eating at that point is not like, who sits down and says, man, I really want to eat a gel today, right? Like that's not. I don't know. Maybe some people are like reaching for that, but like that's not an enjoyable food experience for most of us, and eating, like something hard or Cliff Bar or crack or whatever it is during a ride that's really hard. It's just not enjoyable. So like listening to your gut, like if you start to feel hungry on the bike, eat something right away, and try to fend that off.
Yeah, that's good signs for folks to see if they need to shift things. Now, macros, I look at them like the available buckets, but I look at micronutrients as the thing I fill those buckets with, so to speak. Like I have these buckets and they're proportioned out, but then micronutrients are extremely important, because if they weren't, then all we would do is eat the same easy basic food that just satisfies the macronutrient profile and would be good. So, white rice, because it would satisfy the carb side. And then we'd add some sort of like, meat, something like that to satisfy the protein side. And like, just be like super basic, and then toss in a slice of avocado. And if you do that every day, that doesn't mean that you're going to be healthy, because quality of the food goes deeper than the macronutrient profile. How important are the micronutrients, Pete? And I guess what is a good, easy way to make sure we're getting enough of them?
They're almost more important for overall life quality. They're probably more important. If you're already a reasonably healthy person, you're going to extend and increase your vitality in life by eating a huge amount of micronutrients. And the easiest thing, it's kind of what you just mentioned. It's so easy to find a tool that works. And if that's white rice, chicken, broccoli, and a slice of avocado, the tool is there and you can reach for it. But it really limits your micronutrient intake. And it also just, you end up getting tired of that. And then you opt for a different kind of stalled micronutrient profile. And you do that for X amount of time. And then you get tired of that and you stall. And so it's all about keeping yourself happy and motivated to eat healthy food. And micronutrients taste good, they're good for you, and they scratch an internal itch in you that you're getting all the things you need to get. And that's why you'll have cravings for random things. Your body knows what's going on way better than you do. But if you're eating a huge variety of, like a good example is I'll always buy 5 different vegetables and 3 different fruits, and all my meals try to have combinations of all of those things, or different grains. Like, you can mix and match. A meal doesn't have to be one specific thing plus another specific thing plus another specific thing. My goal is usually get as many different things into one meal as I possibly can, because then I'm sure that it's going to be more healthy overall for me. There's that study about the tokens, right, John?
Yeah. It's a study with monkeys, and they basically gave them 2 different tokens. One where they would put it in and they would get they would get basically a food item, but that food item would be absolutely consistent, and it was just what it was. It wasn't overly desirable, but it was something that wasn't undesirable as well. And then they gave them another token, and they could put that in. And if they put that one in, then it would give them one of 6 meals. So it was a gamble. One of them would be good, then the rest would be bad. And the interesting thing is, repeatedly, they showed the behavior that they actually were willing to take the risk, because they got variety out of that rather than just having the same basic thing. So it's like, it's hinting that like, you know, coded deep in DNA is a search for variety or a necessity for variety. And one of the easiest ways I've found to do this, I don't know about you, Jesse, but I just try to have like a wide variety of color on my plate. That doesn't mean like ketchup and mustard, for example. Like, you know, I guess it could, but I try to, like, with the ingredients that I have, I try to find just as wide of a color gamut as possible. Like last night, it was kale and cranberries and some sunflower seeds, but then I also had some sweet potatoes, and then I had some purple sweet potatoes that I threw in there too, instead of just, you know, the same one. And it was this, and plenty of other stuff as well. And it was just this colorful, beautiful thing. It's also fun to eat when it's something like that, and it looks pretty. And I know all those other things seem tangential, but they really are part of the process, and definitely part of our relationship that we have with food. So that's at least what I've done to try to make sure I get the macronutrients that are like a varied profile. Jesse, I don't know if you have any experience with that.
Yeah, absolutely. We joke around. We call it the Skittles rainbow of vegetables at our house that we try to go for. And look, I know what somebody out there listening is thinking, like, oh man, y'all must have all the time in the world to have all these vegetables and fresh and everything like that. Look, I'm with you. That it's hard to do. Like it's a very time consuming process, especially when like Pete's idea of mixing vegetables together in one dish. Like that's wonderful to do, but holy moly, that takes a lot of time. And sometimes just life and family, all these things get in the way. Find some shortcuts. Canned vegetables are incredibly healthy for you. Better yet, frozen vegetables are super easy. Man, the grocery store always sells these like awesome vegetable mixes, you know, that you can saute and cook really quickly and things like that. You know, buying fresh is wonderful, right? But that's just not realistic. And sometimes, or, you know, if you're buying fresh, like there's going to be a seasonality to the vegetables that you do get as well. When I first started, you know, we talked about this on the Successful Athletes podcast. I started off doing keto, and I really started with the Ron Swanson diet. I mean, it was give me all the bacon you have, right? and no, seriously, all the bacon. And I really, you know, I started in July. It was a tour, so hey, omelets and bacon and I ate that for 2 weeks. It's almost all I ate, right? There's no carbs in bacon. There's very little carbohydrate and eggs. And just, I never thought I was the person that would ever get tired of hearing eggs and bacon. But even now, like it's just something like I really have to think, do I really want another egg in my life? Kind of a thing. And, you begin to realize like there's a reason why foods taste different, right? Like our brain has trained our body to say like, this tastes good, this tastes different when we add those two flavor profiles together, right? Like our tongues have different receptors for different flavors and things. And so we're built that way. We're made that way. And it's an incredible mood boost when you eat good food, right? Because there's an emotional component to food. And when you add that variety, you feel better. You begin to, and just not performance-wise, this is just in general, life-wise, right? And it helps you start to build a healthier relationship with food. And when I started, like I didn't particularly care for much vegetables, but once you kind of get rid of a lot of processed American, and this is pretty standard in America, a lot of that processed food has similar food taste profile, right? Like fried foods, they're salty. Oddly enough, there's still sugar in a lot of fried foods, and it's that sugary, savory taste. And once you get rid of that, you realize, oh, there's all these other flavors out there that are amazing and don't always taste like the salty sweet that you always get, you know, with kind of that standard American diet.
If you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.